Our next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Kevin in Lambeg, Ireland. Big fan of the show.
How big is the lamb in Ireland?
Big fan of the show since coming across it a little over a year ago on YouTube. I now listen to the Drive-Thru and the Experience every week without fail. My question for Jim is, why do you always criticize wrestlers for not having a tan? In particular, I've always found it perplexing that you constantly criticize my fellow Irishman, Sheamus, for not having one.
Well, he's translucent.
To explain, Sheamus suffers from a condition known as Irish skin. This condition means that any attempts to tan naturally will result in him looking like Brother Love. Sure, he could use a spray tan, but a ginger Irishman with a spray tan is just going to look as ridiculous and unnatural as a Kenny Omega facial expression. So what exactly is it about tans that Jim feels makes it essential for every wrestler to have one?
No, it's not essential. It's a bonus. It makes you look better on television. I mean, yeah, everybody can go back to YouTube and go to Territory Days and find many wrestlers without a tan. And there's one thing that I will agree on with people who knock the Territory Days of wrestling versus today is that there was a lower bar set for the standard of physical appearance in the Territory Days. Part of that was because Vince hadn't started pushing bodybuilders, and people didn't think that bodybuilders were the tough guys in fights. They thought guys like the Crusher and Joe LeDuc and whatever the fuck were the tough guys in fights, because that's the way it had been presented. And going back to, you can find days when Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey in Mid-South, especially in the wintertime when we first got there, Bobby Eaton was as fucking pale as this goddamn white sheet of paper sitting in front of me now. And there were no tanning beds back then. And there got to be tanning beds in our time in Charlotte, but still there was often times where you were on the road all the time. You didn't have time to tan. And so in the wintertime, you might look a little pasty. But as years have gone on, and there's more importance on a guy looking like an athlete, a professional athlete, than there used to be in wrestling. As I said, a lot of the smaller territories, it still didn't mean you looked great. And there was still always, look at Golden Boy Chick Donovan. Looked better than anybody in any territory that he was in. He was still in preliminaries, and there were still guys on top drawing money. But Chick looked better because he took the time to put in his body and his tan and his gimmick and his whole 9 yards. Did you ever see, a guy like Ric Flair, look, you never see him look pasty. He might not have had time to tan a lot in the wintertime, but you still didn't ever see him look pasty. But now the bar was lowered for so long in terms of small kids, little guys, the cosplayers, fucking etc. on the indies, that they've lost track of that at a major league level. It's more important than ever before that you look like a professional athlete, that you be in shape to whatever I'm not saying take steroids, but be in shape, whatever your shape, the best your shape can be. And as Arn Anderson said back in the 80s, fat looks better brown than white. Get a tan if you can. You'll look better on television. Fucking have professional gear that goes along with it as well, instead of this fucking thing where everybody's got to work in jeans and a fucking pair of tennis shoes. It's all part of looking more like a star than these fucking schlubs that you see walking down the street that you don't have to pay to see or go out of your way to see. People don't want to see fucking Joe from the goddamn Jiffy Lube. If you're going to pay to see somebody, or if you're going to watch a television program, you want to see a star. And if they're supposed to be professional athletes, they ought to look like them. And since the bar was set higher by the national companies 20 and 30 years ago, you might be able to get by with looking like a goddamn wet rag on your local independent, but I don't care. Fucking Pockets. He can do the moves like the organ grinder's chimp. but he looks like the fucking goof that's under your hood at Jiffy Lube. And whether he gets a tan or even gear, it's not going to change that because he's a bland, expressionless fucking white guy from Pennsylvania that weighs 172 pounds. And so I don't care if he can do all the moves. That just means to the average person watching, not the dedicated few hardcore faithful, but the average person says, well, look at that fucking guy from the Jiffy Lube. He can do all the wrestling moves. They must be easy. That's all it does. So anyway, that's why I say if you can't put muscle on instantly, and you can't grow height instantly, and you can't become a better wrestler instantly, but goddamn, over 2 weeks, 8 visits, you can look a little bit more palatable on television physically, get a tan, and some fucking gear.